Hey there, welcome back. All right, sophomores, we are now looking at our section on classical India. Can you see it there? There it is, classical India. And why don't we start with our first word, which would be the Mauryan Dynasty. Go back in time. Think about Alexander the Great. Okay, he took over a whole bunch of area. We talked about Bactria. We talked about the huge empire that he built. Well, after his empire fell, the Mauryan dynasty was able to rise in India. So what happened is the Mauryan dynasty begins to rise after Alexander the Great falls. There's a power vacuum. That means there's a space for someone to come in and take power. And Chandragupta Maurya takes power and establishes really a first centralized government for India that we really recognize, a large centralized government of the classical era. Chandragupta rules for a while, and then he's replaced by one of the most important people in all of our AP curriculum, Ashoka. And as we know, Ashoka, who we'll get to in a little bit here, converts to Buddhism, and it becomes a Buddhism and stupas, which are right here, which are not stupid. They are Buddhist religious buildings. Okay, that was a really cheesy, bad joke. But seriously, how stupid is this picture? See what I did there? All right, so Mauryan dynasty, huge, large, classical Indian dynasty established after Alexander the Great, established Buddhism throughout the empire with Ashoka, and it's significant because this is really the first large centralized government in India in the classical era, and they also participate in trade networks, and they grow strong as an empire. Let's move on. Chandragupta, or Chandragupta Maurya, who is the founder of the Mauryan dynasty. So this is the person who's responsible for filling in the void after Alexander the Great and his armies left and united India into the Mauryan dynasty. He is recognized as a great ruler who helped bring India together during the classical era, which makes him very significant. Also, you need to know about him that he had some interesting habits. He was a bit paranoid that he was going to be killed, so he ate different places, slept in different beds. But he was also very compassionate for his people. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, he actually died because he was fasting, because he was grieving for his people who were struck by famine. So he was fasting and not eating too, and that's one report of how he ended up dying. Very significant for setting up the Mauryan dynasty in India, which becomes a large dynasty at this time, and advances trade and sets it up for Ashoka, who will come later. Next is Ashoka, who is mentioned several times in Buddhism. Ashoka was an emperor in the Mauryan dynasty, and he was an emperor who was able to, at first, was known for his cruelty, was known for conquering lands, but after he had a battle against the people of Kalinga, he had a change of heart and he saw how much violence there was. And if you look over here, there's a nice little quote, he changes at that point, and he becomes a Buddhist, and he establishes non-violence throughout India. It's kind of interesting if you look at this picture right here. Take a little closer look right there. Where is he over there? Hey, Ashoka, how you doing? All right, so there we have he was a ruler, banned slavery, death penalty, animal cruelty, deforestation, wanted gender equity to exist, as he was a follower of Buddhism and had a kingdom which was known at that time as a kingdom pretty much of non-violence after Kalinga. He built stupas and pillars with the Edicts of Ashoka all over India. Very significant for the spread of Buddhism, very significant for his views on non-violence in the classical era. The Edicts of Ashoka were basically the laws that were written by Ashoka, which established basically his rules, most known for the non-violence after the Battle of Kalinga, and they were built all over the Mauryan Empire. Now, it did show that he had power, but it also showed that he had power through non-violence. So it's another one of the edicts that we have to remember. We had the Edict of Milan, the Edict of Restoration, and the Edict of Ashoka. Now, what we're not going to do is we're not going to talk about who had the biggest edict. After the fall of the Mauryan dynasty, there was a time where there was really no centralized power in India. Then the Gupta dynasty comes in. Now, the Gupta dynasty is not as strong of a central power as the Mauryan dynasty. The Gupta dynasty is more of an example of decentralized government, meaning that the Gupta were pretty happy to let the local lords rule as long as they paid taxes to them. The Gupta were also good. We see coins here. They were pretty good at establishing trade along the Indian Ocean trade routes, which are going to become real big coming up in our next section, Silk Road, Indian Ocean trade routes. They're very significant in helping establish trade, but also just think that they are a decentralized government, that they rise for a while, and they never quite establish the power of the Mauryan dynasty that was had in India earlier.